Okay, let me just start with the disclaimer and say that what you guys are about to see is my interpretation and understanding of the way in which Reels work and why I am doubling down on trial Reels. Okay, I do not work for Meta. I do not have any type of inside access. I do have a lot of data that I've collected over quite some time between my own accounts that I manage, a bunch of different accounts, as well as client accounts. And so this is my understanding based on the data that I've collected, the AI that I've been giving, and some insight from people who can always tell me what's coming down the pipeline in terms of features, etc. For these platforms. So that's what you guys are going to see. And just please understand that these things change all the time. So the sooner that you act on them, the better. Okay, let's talk about trial reels and why you guys should use them, and talk about let's basically break down the feature and how it can benefit you. But first, let's talk about actual reels and how that works, right? Because when your reels get distributed, it gets sent out to two groups, right? A group of your followers and a group of non followers. And it is gathering and collecting data based on each of these groups. This is when you're not using a trial reel. This is when you make an actual reel. And you just post it regularly. This is what's going to happen. Oftentimes, right? And I guess I could have changed this. This is a bigger pool and the initial pool. Well, I did put followers a little bigger, but you get what I'm saying. This is a bigger pool and it is the initial pool because they have more data from how your followers have reacted to your content in the past. After that, it is sending it out to non-followers based on a couple of different factors, right? And now let's talk about how they rank distribution. So, to the best of my knowledge and understanding from my collection of data and use of AI, here is how they rank the distribution, okay? First is sends, right? Not shares, sends. How many times does this thing get sent to friends via DM? This is the number one ranking right now in terms of distribution because they are pushing community. They want people to engage with each other on this app. A lot of people come on this app and they just use it like a tool. I just post and go. But if I send something to somebody, I'm now holding them responsible for seeing it. If my girl send me some stuff right now and I don't look at it, she'll come in the room and be like, "Did you see what I sent you?" So that's a very big factor, right? If she does that, now I'm gonna go back on the app. Again, it's all about time and how long they can keep you on the app. And sends is actually the best way to get people to reopen the app or to continue to engage because that becomes a communication method. Whenever you're using this thing as a tool of communication between people who are close, they're going to go on there very often, right? If I don't post for a few days, I got friends that hit me and be like, "Yo, what's good? I'm just making sure you was all right." Like literally, that's their method of seeing if I'm still alive or not, right? Is if I'm active on Instagram, right? And some people will take a leave of absence and they'll announce it. "Hey guys, I'm going away," just to let people know that you won't see me on here for a while. And so again, right, that's what they're trying to cultivate more of. So that's why things being sent out to people is a huge factor. Second to that is retention. How long are people watching the actual reel? How long are they staying on the platform before they switch off to something else, right? And so that's why that feature that tells you what percentage of people watched it past the first 3 seconds, that's a very big factor in your performance, right? And so you want to make sure that that is high. Again, this is why we focus on hooks. Next is going to be comments. The reason why comments are so valuable is because, again, this is a method of communication. If I'm commenting, that's leaving an opportunity for someone else to come into the comment section and say something, whether they agree with it or not, right? That's just another form of communication. That's the third biggest factor in terms of ranking, right? From what we know right now from the data. Next is going to be story shares. These are actually very, very passive. People share a lot of things to their stories just to try to stay active. They don't actually care about what it is that they're showing. They're just like, "Yo, I should post this. Let me just share this. Some other people should see this. This is cool. I thought this is cool." So the reason why story shares don't matter as much as like sends is because when I'm sharing it to the story, it says about me. I think this is cool and worth being seen by more people. When I send something to you, I'm saying you will find this entertaining, informational, inspirational, etc. Right? That's why back in the day, one of the big hacks used to be send this post to 5 people that you know will appreciate it, right? And I do believe that that's coming back, by the way, and that always works at the top of the year, right? If you always want to do something like inspirational, motivational, send this to people who's going to crush it this year and 2025 or whatever the case may be. So that's another cheeky little hack that some people can do once you understand what your communication frequency is. And so after that, it saves. Again, this is a very passive thing because how many times have you saved something and not gone back to look at it? Right. And so, yes, it signals to the platform that this is some content that people would like to have access to later, but it's very rare that people actually go back and reopen it. And if you do go back and reopen it, guess what? That then boosts the retention. Right. And so, again, this is a passive metric. Notice what's not on here is likes, right? Because that does not matter. Again, a like is a very extremely passive. Like it does not. There are certain people who will see a reel and not like it, but they'll comment on it. They'll send it to somebody else. They might share. Like a like is such a secondary thought now. There's certain times my girl has called me out for this. There's certain times when I might watch a reel and before it even like plays, I'm a couple seconds in, I'll double tap it. That just happens to be like the it's almost an automatic nerve reaction. It's almost just like I got my phone in my hand, I see something that's visually appealing, double tap. I might not even stay on the thing the whole time. So again, likes are the least amount, right? Now, once it has this data, this is not all that it is judging on. At the same time, there is a separate AI pretty much collecting data on these factors: originality, subject matter, visual composition, audio. Originality does not mean like, yo, is this something brand new that we haven't seen before? It means, is this an original piece of content or is this something that's being aggregated from another account, right? They don't want to continuously post things that are being shared from other people's accounts. They want to try to give people originality. Here's the crazy part, right? Originality, notice audio is last. Originality does not necessarily mean like, are you the first person to say it, right? I could get on there right now and recite the Martin Luther King "I Had a Dream" speech, right? And that would be considered original, right? So that's how that works, which is why unfortunately, your content is not safe from someone trying to just replicate it or steal it or whatever just by saying the same thing that you said. And so here's why community is such a big factor. Because if I know someone said something and it had a lot of resonance with an audience, before it gets too big, I can then go and just say the same thing, tell the same story, have the same cadence, etc. And it will still be considered original. But if I have a community, my community will rally behind me when I say, hey, this person is stealing my stuff. So again, community is extremely valuable. But again, back to what it's rating, right? It is judging it on originality, then subject matter. Subject matter being, what is this reel actually about? Is this, and it classifies reels on its own. So you might think you're talking about something new under the sun, but trust me, you're not. If you are talking about an update on something, that's just considered news, right? That's considered media broadcast. Like if you're like, oh my God, did you guys hear about the TikTok ban? That's considered media broadcast, right? Then there is finance, there is tech, now there is AI, there is lifestyle. I'm trying to remember what all of the qualifications are in terms of subject. But those are the main ones that it ends up breaking things down into categories, right? It needs to know all of this stuff in order to send it to people who like that, right? Am I somebody who would like to understand and keep up with things that are going on in pop culture? Right? Do I follow the Shade Room? Do I follow Hollywood Unlocked? Whatever. If I follow those accounts, then somebody who's doing news style or media broadcast style content might have a chance of ending up in my feed because I like that kind of stuff. So subject matter is the next thing. And these aren't necessarily like, let me just say this. I don't have the data as to how these things are weighted, right? I don't know which one weighs more than the other. I'm assuming that subject matter is a very big one. That would probably be primary. Next is going to be visual composition. So, meaning what is actually being seen on screen? Is this thing taking up all of the screen? Is there a lot of static stuff on here? Is it just words, right? Because again, certain people like certain types of content, right? Just because I said something that's phenomenal, right? That same statement, if all I did was some dope motion graphics of the words, it might not ring as well in terms of like in comparison to my visuals, right? If I just took some of my posts and all I did was just put the words that I was saying and I made them dance and move, some people might not necessarily like that because that's just not for them, right? So the visual composition, it wants to know who's on screen, right? What type of person is on screen? Is it a male? Is it a female? Is it multiple people? What do they look like? Again, what is the composition of the screen? How much of the screen are you using? That's actually a very, very big factor, or at least it used to be. We don't know how that has changed in terms of distribution for this year, but that was a very big factor. It seems like they have dialed that back. But again, it starts to judge visual composition and then audio, right? And not just what is being said, because it can understand what's being said based on the text on screen. And then it breaks down the actual audio, but more so like what kind of audio is this music? If so, what kind of music, et cetera, et cetera. They also apparently judge inflections in the tone, right? So it wants to understand, is this coming off from an informational tone or is this coming off from a comical tone, et cetera, right? And so this is the understanding that we currently have as to the way in which the distribution metrics work and how it is deciding who to send your stuff to. Speaking of which, here's what that looks like. Now, this is the entire composition of data that it has, right? It knows who it tried to show it to, how they reacted, and what the data that they collected about it, right? That's why all of these are different colors. And so now that it has that, it's trying to find the IDV, which is the ideal viewer. It's the person who's going to do more than one of these touch points, right? It's a person who's going to do more than one of these things, meaning it's somebody who's going to send it to some people, they're going to watch it the entire way through, they're going to leave a comment, right? That's the IDV. That's what this is trying to create with all of the data that it actually collects. Now, in terms of the distribution, here's what that looks like. It's very similar to this, but colorful. So for the distribution, right? It now says, okay, we're going to distribute this thing to 4 types of people, right? Some may be your followers, some may be more passive followers, etc. Some may be non-followers that are like this, some may be non-followers that are like this. And then it's all about the qualifications and the things that they share, right? So let's just say this is the bucket of followers that it's going to send it out to, and this is the bucket of non-followers that it's going to send it out to. Well, based on the data, majority of them might be male. So this might be the bucket of male followers that it will send it out to, right? I have a post that literally went to 89.9% male viewers, right? That's who it distributed to. And the craziest part about it is the comment section, the women who saw it were extremely grateful to have seen it, right? The most, I guess, appreciative comments were from women, right? And so it's very odd how it chooses, but again, it's all about the retention and all of those other factors in there. And so that's how the distribution looks. Now that it has all of the data, it says, okay, we're going to test and refine. We're going to send this out to this many people who are like this many people who qualify like this, that many people who qualify like this, et cetera, based on all of the data, right? And I'm breaking this down in a very simple term. It is a very much more complex graph than this. But again, based on the data that I have collected over the years of working for myself and other clients and understanding how these platforms are working and getting my hands on some insight to changes, code, etc. This is how the distribution system works to my understanding. I do not work for Meta, but I do have some good data and some good insight. And in case you're not in my private community where I spoke about this recently, if you are looking for the trial reels feature, all you need to do is go like you're going to post a reel and then scroll down until you see the trial button. It's a little toggle. You just turn that on and now your reel is in trials mode. Here is what it looks like when you are using trial reels, right? All of this stuff that I sent you before is the basic reels distribution. Now, when you use trial reels, here's what it looks like. It's going to send it out to non-followers. I should have put that here. I apologize. This is completely non-followers, but it is based on your current audience. So they are looking at who your current audience is. They're sending it out to a test group of people who are like those people. The reason why this is very small in comparison to this is because this is the bigger metric. They are trying to figure out people who would be interested in what it is that you are talking about. So I've done some testing, right? Just on interest-based accounts, right? We have a couple of different accounts that we utilize, and I will spend some time just liking certain things, right? And this is how I get some of this data. And if I like a bunch of stuff that is just let's just say based in AI, right? And I dial the interest up to say, hey, this account wants to see a lot of stuff with AI. I leave the retention there, et cetera, et cetera. I will start being shown things that are not even in English, but they are speaking about AI, right? That's how heavy the interest factor is. And they're doing that even more because they're about to roll out a feature where I can hit a button and it will be able to switch it over to English. So no matter what language you actually communicate in, there's going to be a feature where you can hit a button and whatever the language is that the viewer is in, they will be able to consume your content there as well, which is a very good factor because, hey, you have the ability to be seen by a lot more people. The problem then becomes if you're selling anything, you got to learn how to then deal with that. So that's coming down. But again, this is the bigger circle. As a matter of fact, it should be this blue circle from the way that we understand it. This is just a graphic that I found. I wanted to put this thing together for you guys. So again, when you're using when you're using trial reels, the biggest factor that it is sending it out to in terms of the audience is going to be the interest. So it's again all about the subject matter and what this reel is saying, what it is about. Okay, that's how you're able to win. And as the head of Instagram said himself, trial reels give you the opportunity to go viral before any of your own audience sees it. His words, not mine, but it is true because they're going based off interest. And if you know that I like to look at something, guess what? I'm going to look at it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to send it to my friends who like to look at it, right? If I'm a car enthusiast and I see something about cars and I'm in a car club, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to share that stuff to the people who are in other car clubs, et cetera, et cetera. Kristen, I'm talking to you specifically with your podcast, right? So again, you really want to, this is why being niche specific works right now, because it is helping the distribution metrics understand who want what you have to create, et cetera. So last but not least, this is again the trial reel. Now it is then collecting data about everything that it has sent out to understand who it is that would be the IDV, the ideal viewer. And so this is why trial reels is a huge benefit and why you guys should definitely use them. And the best way to use them is to I'll speak about that in another visual because we're still taking data for that. And so I don't want to preemptively give you guys any insight about what we're seeing in terms of a trend for using trial reels, right? How long you should let the trial go before you have it shown to your current audience. But just to clear up some things, if you put up a trial reel and it gets 100,000 views and then you now allow it to go to your audience, you don't lose those 100,000 views. It goes to your audience with that same data and insight. And so some people were asking about that, but yes, all you do is literally you get to show things out to other people in my community. In the premium tab, I am giving you guys the sauce for how I'm doing this for my clients, how I'm using this for clients, and what it is that I'm doing specifically, as well as for myself, and how this is how I'm using this as a bit of a hack. And so, everybody who's in the community, you guys will get that in the premium tab. I'll be in there as always to help you guys get to the bag and beyond.